Hey, what's happening, friends? Here with my boy, Troy Palmquist. He is the Director of Growth for EXP here in California, but has an amazing background. And so I wanted to share a little bit about that, like the 30-second version, and then really focus in on if you're a brokerage owner, independent brokerage owner, or franchise brokerage owner, what his experience has been and some of the benefits of coming over to EXP if you're currently facing any struggles or the pain that I think we both know that most indie brokers face. So what's kind of like the short story, Troy, on your background?
Yeah, so I've been in the industry going on 22 years this year. Had a wide range of different stuff that I've done in the industry, from asset dispositions to even being a transaction coordinator, getting my start that way. Yep. Really learned the transaction and what it takes to get the home sold. And opened a first brokerage, grew it to 90 agents, 5 offices. I acquired a brokerage in Malibu, had an office in Newport, and really had a great thing going. Mm-hmm. That company sold in January of 22. Okay. And then spun off and started a second brokerage where I wanted to be part of something bigger than what I was as an indie before.
So the first experience was good enough that you wanted to do it a second time?
The first experience,
or you wanted to do it different?
The first experience was good enough that I knew that I could do it differently. Okay. This time. Okay. So, for me, my story, 22 was different for me than it was for a lot of people. Okay. And I had a brokerage. I was overseeing the asset disposition for a pretty large Southern California flip company, but COVID hit, and the person that was the company that I'd worked for, because I actually sold the company in 2018 the first time. Okay. And then came on and helped grow it to what it was, but I didn't have ownership in it anymore. So then it subsequently sold again in January of 22 to a big franchise. The owner of the parent company got COVID over in Italy. And then he ended up eventually passing away from COVID. So, 2020 started with the owner of the company getting sick, the hedge fund saying we're not going to buy property anymore, and had to liquidate a fund for BlackRock, which was about $250,000 fund, while running a real estate company that was growing and was doing, really good production. I mean, I think we were selling in 2020, I think we did $450 million worth of volume. Okay. And so it wasn't a little operation by any means. And then in May of 2020, my son, who was 2 years old, fell out of the second story of our house and miraculously survived, with no long-term damage. It was one of the scariest, hardest things in your life you'll ever see. And I saw it happen. And you see life flash behind, in front of you, and you just want to break down and cry. Which I ended up doing eventually, but it
creates a lot of perspective that you didn't have before.
It puts a lot of perspective, right? Yeah. And then in July of 2020, so Rhett's fine, just no long-term damage, no brain damage, big, huge miracle. Yep. Right. July of 2020, I got diagnosed with cancer. Oh. Okay. And stage 2 thyroid cancer. Dealt with that from essentially July until September 11th was I had surgery to remove my thyroid and the cancer. And then it was a recovery pace, time after that for a few months of recovery. Yep. So while running a brokerage and of 90 agents, and I learned a lot about perspective and a lot about life and the value that life brought to me, and that I didn't necessarily need to be a broker.
You could pass the ego of that, right?
I could pass it, right? I've got the broker's license still, but the risk wasn't worth the reward anymore. Yeah. And so I stayed on and went through all that. And then when the company sold, it was, what are we going to do, now? Next. And I knew that I didn't want to be the broker again. I could go hire a broker and, spend probably $120,000 a year for a broker. Yep. Yep. And that was just one cost. And so I looked at it and I said, okay, there's cloud-based brokerages out there. I could go be my own brand at, still do what I want to do, grow agents and do this. I also realized that the broker of record and the compliance and the transaction piece is fun but it wasn't the pieces that I loved. Like, I want to be able to help take an agent from 5 transactions to 15 transactions.
Absolutely.
Or the agent that is doing 12 million but wants to do 60 million.
Yep.
Or the agent that's doing an average sales price of 700 that wants to get to an average sales price of 1.5.
Yep. Yep.
That's a lot of fun for me.
Yep.
And that's helping people by giving them the value that I can bring and the expertise that I can bring and providing the value for them.
Yep.
You can't do that when you're trying to do everything else behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Accounting and tech support and administration.
All of it.
Yeah,
and
compliance.
so
yeah.
So
did that bring you to looking at EXP?
So that brought me to looking at Side.
Okay.
Where I eventually ended up, and it was a decent experience. At that point, I wasn't ready to be brokered by or powered by something.
Yep.
Like, because I wanted to build something still to sell again.
Yep.
And I felt like building something that was brokered by or powered by was going to be harder to do than just being a private label.
I want to pause there. So in your experience around the industry, you've built and sold 2 companies, which I think is rare. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know, in terms of an independent building something that was valuable enough for somebody else to buy at a profit to you. I mean, has that been your experience?
Yeah, you don't see it a lot.
So your story is not common, right? It's kind of what I'm getting to. Is I know there's a lot of broker friends that I know that have a brokerage that they've had for 25 years, but if they were to go put it on the market today and try and sell it, they would get almost nothing for it because there isn't a ton of value.
Yeah, well, you look at it too. What was the economic state for brokerage acquisitions in 2020 was different than it is now.
Right.
Because then you had Compass, Pacific Union, all of these.
Lots of venture capital, lots of.
That was going around with acquisitions and franchises that were trying to grow.
Makes sense.
And so you do still see brokerages get acquired.
Yeah.
It's just not all the time. So, you know,
and you also rarely see what that money actually looks like, right? I mean, are they making 10 million or are they making 100 grand, right? I mean, when a brokerage gets acquired, what does that broker owner actually do?
It all depends. I mean, and now it's interesting because I think teams are actually worth more than a brokerage.
Okay.
Because, and here's the thing for me, like, when I built the first one, like, my goal was to go and franchise it, you know, do what the
traditional model, right?
Do what the agency did. I was the address. Like, it was cool. You know, we had patented for sale signs with photos of the home on it. Like, you know, it was a beautiful brand. But I wanted to do something that was different, that was going to break the mold.
Okay.
And so I didn't ever think that when I started that company that all we had put into building would end up in a box.
Okay.
And literally the brand and everything is in one banker's box.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's really hard to realize, that like everything that you built went to that, because it died. Like, the brand died. You know, and so now I looked at it, and when we were looking at building again, it was like, okay, do I care if I'm brokered by or powered by? Because the likelihood of building a brokerage and selling it again is kind of small.
Yeah.
Like, the economic model isn't there for it right now.
And the market changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I didn't sell it, and the brand died the last time. So what do I care if the brand really lives on? Like, the value is in creating the agents and the value that they're able to provide to their people.
Yeah.
And I think that now building teams and teamerages is bigger value in the long run than it is doing it on your own.
Yeah.
And taking just to the risk piece. I mean, I got named in a lawsuit by 2 agents that were suing another person, and it cost me $38,000 to get dismissed from the lawsuit.
Right.
Like,
to prove that you did nothing wrong.
To prove that I didn't do anything wrong,
Yeah.
that I had no knowledge, and that was pre-trial.
Yeah.
Like, because
if it had gone to trial,
insurance
it would have been
wasn't
6
going to cover it. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, you know, $38,000 is a lot of money
Yep.
to spend.
Yep.
And to what? Be the broker?
Right. Yeah.
Like, and I still didn't have the community that I have now.
Yep.
And that's what's great about being at EXP. So EXP to me has really changed my life. I think changed the way I look at real estate. You know, after 20 years of it. Like, you know, I don't need to be isolated and independent I can go and still have my identity with less risk and be able to provide more value to the people that I work with, and I think have more fun doing it.
Totally agree. So what does your job today entail? What does a director of growth for California entail?
That's a good question. I am here to help agents with their growth.
Okay.
I look at growth in a couple different ways, whether it's by helping them build out their organizations, helping them grow individually. I want to see the number of signs in the yards grow. I want to see the number of transactions grow. I want to see the head count grow. Because EXP California's got 12,000 agents now. It's, you know, it's large.
It's huge.
But it could be bigger.
Yep.
And so I think that providing agents with the right tools, the right support to go out and have the conversations with people, to go out and have the conversations with the broker owners.
Yep.
Like I've been there.
Yep.
I've done that. I understand where you're at 2:30 in the morning, asleep or trying to sleep on the couch with a notepad, writing stuff down, trying to fall back asleep because you're worried about the stuff that's going on.
Yep. You know, and I want to emphasize what you said in your answer, which I think is important, is a lot of people, you know, directors of growth, a lot of times in other companies, or sometimes we get this reputation too, is that it just means recruitment, right? It just means going out there and trying to sell agents to join the brokerage. But you talked primarily about growing the number of yard signs, the number of transaction sides. And that's one of the things that I really have found, I mean, just enormously beneficial to us getting to where we are today as a business. Personally, our personal team is that we're surrounded by people who want to see you grow in every single aspect: business, attraction, personally, fitness. I mean, we're just around growth-minded people, and that doesn't exist when you're at like an indie broker, or even at a franchise brokerage, right? Because you're essentially
you're on your own.
You're on your own, yeah.
So how many agents do you have?
About 130.
Damn.
and I came to EXP as an individual agent with my brother and a couple of friends. Like, I didn't come here with a brokerage. I didn't come here with a large team. You know.
But you also didn't go out and start talking to everybody about it.
No.
Right? It was the byproduct of having a relationship with somebody. It was the byproduct of a successful transaction.
Yep.
It was the byproduct of
just being good people in the marketplace.
Right?
Yep.
And that's where, you know, for us right now, like, I'm doing brand agnostic workshops every week. And they're pretty cool topics. Like last week's was how to present your offer like the best. And it wasn't just, you know, how to write an offer. It was how to package it into one PDF and what you should include in that one PDF, and that you need to call the agent on before you send it, and you need to call them afterwards. And then how to review multiple offers. Right? And so it was this whole workshop, and it was really cool. And so we're doing stuff like that that's brand agnostic because I want to be able to provide the value. If agents see that we're providing value on this type of a scale, their other brokerages aren't. Right? Because we actually care. We want to see the agents grow. I want to see them, you know, whether it is through attraction or this, it's like, you know, one of the things that people have to realize is that attraction and growth is the byproduct of doing something that you love. Right? If I asked you, why do you love EXP? And I asked the next person, why do you love EXP? Your stories are going to be different. Right? You might have, somebody might say over here, I had a horrible year last year. I had saved a bunch of stock, and the stock saved my ass. Somebody else might say something completely different. I like the $16,000 cap. Somebody else might say the medical insurance has saved me $16,000 a year. So you really have to have that story about why you love something, right? But it's just like how we grow in real estate in our transactions. We're out talking about it. We're asking people, you know, what do they think of the market? What are they doing with their home? Do they know anybody looking to buy or sell? Same thing. Do you know anyone looking to switch brokerages?
Same.
And it's not that I'm going around talking to every single person about EXP, but I'm getting to know them. You know, and I think that's where, you know, educating agents on growth and attraction. It's like the conversation I had with Michael Valdez at Inman Connect, which is where I met EXP really. On stage, 15 minutes, like, I learned everything I needed to learn in a 15-minute conversation because I resonated with what he was saying about how EXP is an attraction-based company versus recruiting.
Yes.
Like, nobody wants to be recruited to a real estate company.
Nope.
Like, what's your value proposition? Tell me what your value is. What do you offer? And how are you going to help me grow? That's what I need to know.
That's a big difference. I think a perspective that's kind of blows people's minds about EXP. And I just had this conversation the other day is in a recruitment situation, it implies that we're going to have to negotiate your situation because I'm recruiting you to this and I want to make the deal good enough for you to say yes to join my brokerage. We got to recruit, we got to negotiate our commissions, we got to negotiate other terms.
A marketing cap,
all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, you've been through this a million times. But I just think, wow, what a terrible way to start a relationship with your broker where somebody has to feel like they lost, right? A negotiation very rarely ends with both parties feeling like they won, and somebody's gonna have to start off feeling like they came up short in that negotiation, where on the flip side of that, when you're talking about attraction with EXP, there's no negotiating anything. If this value proposition doesn't make absolute sense to you, then it's okay, we can still be friends, but you continue to do business the way you wanna do business. But in most cases, I've never had to sell somebody on, hey, if I'll do this for you, I'll do that for you if you join. It's like, hey, here's what the opportunity is. If this doesn't make absolute sense to you and that you're gonna be way better off in the long run than you are now, then that's fine, but you don't have to negotiate, you don't have to sell anybody, you don't have to convince anybody it's a good idea because there's just so much value there.
Yeah. So I ask my son, and maybe he's heard it too much. I don't want to say brainwashed, but I say, hey, Rhett, what's the difference between recruiting and attracting? And say recruiting's for the military. Right?
Yeah.
And there's some truth to it. Recruiting typically comes with a sign-on bonus.
Yep.
It's corporate America, it's law firms, it's big corporations that do it.
Yep.
But primarily the military is out recruiting. Like, they're not necessarily attracting people to come.
Yep. Well, I have some personal experience with this, so let me add a caveat into that. There's only one branch of the military that doesn't ever have a problem with recruitment, and that's the Marine Corps. And
are we supposed to say hoorah now?
Yes, right, hoorah, you got that. So, and the reason for that is their marketing is better than everybody else's, right? So if you're a kid and you see the cool uniforms and if you watch a Super Bowl ad for the Marine Corps versus the Navy or the Army, a lot of times the Navy and the Army, they sell you on the benefits, right? The health insurance, the educational benefits, the salary, the job training, they sell you on the benefits. Versus a Marine Corps, if you watch a Marine Corps commercial, it's cool people doing cool stuff in cool uniforms, looking badass, and like they're selling you on the what, the why of why you want to be a Marine. You're gonna be associated with this elite group of warfighters versus like, I'm gonna be a mechanic that's gonna get job training, that is gonna get college benefits. And so it's been a fascinating thing. There's a lot of studies on it, but it's always, the Marine Corps almost always hits their recruitment goals because they just have a different marketing effort, right? It's an attraction.
So now look at it, it's back to recruiting versus attracting.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's where, like, even in a listing presentation, you're attracting the person to work with you.
100%.
There's not a sign-on bonus, there's not a guarantee, anything. So when you start thinking about it differently that way, people want to come and work with you. They see that you're having fun, they're attracted to what you're doing.
So here's the advice. I just had this discussion yesterday and it really helped me put it into a package that's consumable for agents. Is a lot of agents, the traditional way they approach the business is they assume they have a bunch of clients out there. You're my client because we went to high school together. You're my client because you're my uncle. And you're my client because we worked 5 years ago together at a job. And then what happens is you go and buy real estate from the person that was holding the open house, and I'm heartbroken because I thought you were my client, but you actually weren't. We have no signed relationship. I haven't had a conversation with you in 5 years about real estate. You were never my client, but agents go through this life believing they have clients that really aren't their clients, versus your real goal in life should be the converse. You should have people out there that believe you're their real estate agent because you put so much value into the marketplace and your marketing is so good that you don't even know they exist. And that's been a cornerstone that I didn't really realize until somebody was asking me about it the other day, where on the daily, I get a call from somebody who responds to an email that I sent or some type of marketing that says, hey, can you write me an offer on 123 Banana Street? My name's so-and-so. And I look them up in the database, and we might have had a conversation 3 years ago because they were a Zillow lead or a Facebook lead or whatever. But since then, we've provided them with so much valuable information via social media retargeting, via email campaigns, that they've always considered me for the last 3 years their realtor. I had no idea they existed.
It's because you put so much effort into what you put out there.
Exactly.
That they feel like they know you already. And
Yes.
it's because you're being authentic to who you are.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's your ethos.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, yeah.
So, and I think that one of the things that a lot of agents do wrong is they come in and they think that I don't have a database. I don't have a sphere of influence.
Right.
Yet, when I sit down with an agent and I say, okay, pull out your phone, let's look at the last 15 people that you've text messaged with, the last 20 in your email, the last 50 that have DM'd you on Instagram. Go run a story on your Instagram story and say, how many houses do you think I can sell this year in a story? The ones that care about you are going to answer that question.
Yeah. How can they help you?
That is how you build your sphere of influence.
I love it.
And now you're building a sphere of influence that actually cares about you, not going through your yearbook or
Right.
the church directory
Yeah.
and saying, these are my clients.
Yeah.
Like, they're not. They're not even in your sphere of influence because they didn't get your Christmas card.
Yeah.
Like, and they don't follow you on Instagram.
And you haven't talked to them
you
for
don't interact
20
with them.
years,
Like,
yeah.
you've got your attorney that you're communicating with in your email for some reason, or your CPA, or your dentist, or the PTA parents, or the soccer parents. Like, that's your sphere.
Yeah.
Like, you have to continually be adding that stuff to it. If Rhett goes and starts to ever play sports, and I hope that he doesn't pick one that has it on the weekends, all of those parents will go into the database.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like his class parents. Like, I was at a birthday party this week and one of the parents was like, oh, we bought a house in September. I'm like, well, bummer. Like, but it was September and we weren't in class together yet, so I really can't hold that against me that like I wasn't there for the transaction.
You weren't present. Yeah.
Like, but again, I've done a really bad job with reaching out to that group because I'm just not involved in the classroom like that. But go to the birthday parties, I meet the people. Now, should they be going into my database?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've started a relationship with them. I'm cultivating the relationship now. But if I'm not continually adding to the database and trying to provide value to them, they're not going to think about me when it's time to sell a home. And they're not going to think about me when they hear you saying, hey, I'm getting ready to sell the house.
Yep. And that's your fault, not their fault.
It is my fault.
Absolutely.
You know, and I've been on the board.
And we've been on that losing end, all of us. I mean, nobody has done that perfectly.
I've been on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club, our local Boys and Girls Club, since 2017, I think.
Okay.
I've never sold a board member a house. I don't actually know if they know what I do.
Right.
Like,
it's not appropriate in that
they
situation.
know I'm in real estate. No, it is. Like, because we're there to help each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
we're helping this organization, this club, but by helping this club, we can help each other.
Yeah.
But I haven't put myself out there to say, hey, I'm in real estate. If you guys know people that are looking to buy or sell a home, or if you're looking to buy or sell a home, let me know and I'll donate a portion of the commission back to the Boys and Girls Club. I've never done that.
Right.
I should,
but
I haven't. Like, and they're not even in the CRM or the database. Like, I've kept it so segregated, and it's been a costly mistake in my opinion that I've done it. Will I go and fix it tomorrow? Probably not still, but it's been one of those mistakes.
The lesson learned is we can all get better. There's all stuff we can do better. Yeah. Hey, so to wrap this up, this has been an amazing conversation. I wanted to get back to some of the programs that have come out recently, because we started this conversation, about kind of brokerage owners and the pain that's in the market and not having enough network and benefits to agents and collaboration and things like that. But there's been some cool programs that have rolled out recently that can maybe help with the transition and some of the pain for a broker owner moving over. So what are they?
So the biggest one that a broker owner would look at is the Boost program. And the Boost program is designed for a brokerage over 50 agents that has done over $100 million in transactions.
Okay.
And that's an obtainable number right there.
I mean, any moderately successful brokerage is doing that. I mean, if you do
but not every brokerage has 50 agents, right?
Yeah.
So they might not fit that. So there are ways to come in and have the conversation with, someone like you and someone like me on the growth team to help the individual brokerage identify what it is that they need and how they can offset some of the cost, offset the responsibility, the liability, but have some incentivization to do that via the Boost program or coming over as a Thrive program, which is really designed for teams.
Yep.
But there is different ways to look at it and figure it out so that there is that thing. Because look,
And simply define boost, it's basically some financial incentive to help you with the cost of transition.
Correct.
Right? Because that's basically a big objection is I'm going to have to get new signs, I'm going to have to buy out my lease, and I'm going to have to do a bunch of things. And that
well, look, I mean, you said buying out your lease, like, just because you're at a cloud-based brokerage doesn't mean you don't need to have a physical location.
We are currently in a real estate office, an EXP real estate office.
An amazing one, right?
Yes.
And I have a physical location.
I have two.
And so, but what does it do by having you have your own office and your own identity? The office has its own look and feel. It's got its culture. It's got this. That's surrounded around what you want to build. And so I talk to people all the time. It's like, well, like an agent that's doing, $20, $50 million in production, and like, well, I need an office. Like, cool. So why don't we go into the community that you're in and serving, and go find a location next to a coffee shop, next to the hair barber, like next to the nail salon, and be able to build your space, because you're going to save so much money on your commission cap that you can put that money into a brick and mortar location and spend a few $1,000s there, decorate it to your liking. You want to put the Harley in the window, put the Harley in the window, right? But have that space be yours and watch the money grow, because now you have your own physical location and not trying to compete with a bunch of other people.
I don't know how many times I've had that conversation where, it's a top performing agent, $20, $30 million producer, and they're currently giving Sotheby's or Coldwell Banker, 80 to 100 grand in commission splits every year. And they say, well, I get an office. I'm like, well, here it'll cost you 16 grand in your cap. And, office space will cost you $3,000 or $4,000 a month. So you're gonna still net save about $50,000 a year.
But you need the printer too. Like, I get free black and white printing.
Right.
Cool. So, I mean, I got a great rep at Conoco Minolta. I can set you up. We can get you a printer.
$250 a month to hook you up.
Right? So, and now you've got your own printer.
And it's your office with your brand and your culture, and I mean, so.
And you invite the people that you want.
Absolutely.
And you've got a place to have client parties. You've got a place that in November, when you're doing your pie drive and you want to give away pies, they come to your office. They're not coming somewhere else.
What I love about this office, and definitely I have this vibe in our offices on the Big Island, is they're not offices for clients to walk into and for us to generate real estate business. We know lots of different ways to generate real estate business. They're offices to build culture, to build community, to shoot content, to benefit agents growing of their business, versus renting a $15,000 space that's oceanfront that you may get one or two people to walk into nowadays, because 99% of clients find the realtor online before they ever come to town. So you're paying for something that traditionally made sense, but no longer actually has any tangible benefit. You'd be way better off having a studio that you have access to, where you can shoot valuable content and reach tens of thousands of people every week via social media and email. So it's just a mindset shift, I think.
It is. And look, hey, writing off the rent on your building, you're not writing off, your desk space necessarily.
Yes.
And now you've got a space that's yours. And I think that's really important. And I've been a big advocate for a while. I mean, it's where I think I went indie, was because I wanted my own office space. I wanted that look and my own feel, right? I mean, my first office, we had a 4-tap kegerator. In there behind the bar, and that was the focal point of the office. There was a Kensington couch here and bar, and then this, really pretty board for the listing presentations. And it was a vibe, right? But I knew that with the seasonal beer that would come out, we would invite the Sphere of Influence to come and try the new beer on tap. Or we had Nitro coffee on tap, or 2 different kombuchas, and so, but you're not going to do that if it was somebody else's office or a corporate office. Like, it really gives you the opportunity to find where you want to be in the neighborhood that you prospect and you work, and give back to your community.
Build your identity. All right, man. Any closing thoughts on if you're a broker owner out there and you're feeling some pain, what you should do?
Reach out to this guy.
And I'll connect you with this guy. We can all have a conversation together. So
you just got to look at it like there's a lot of risk, there's a lot of responsibility. And I tell people,
or even maybe more importantly, if you're an aspiring broker owner,
just don't do it.
If you're a top performing agent, please come have a conversation with us. I can tell you, 5 years ago, not that smart of a guy, but I looked at opening a brokerage versus this model, and I was like, hey, this makes way more sense to me because I don't actually have to take on any of the risk and any of the jobs that I don't want to do. I want to focus on
the employees.
Employees. I mean, you name it, the compliance issues, the tax issues, the accounting issues, all this stuff. I look at, a simple way to look at EXP is I'm outsourced for $16,000 a year. I outsource all of the terrible parts of the real estate business that I want to do, and I can just focus on serving clients and helping agents grow their business, which is what I love to do and what you love to do. And we don't have to worry about any of that pain that I don't know why anybody would enjoy doing any of that stuff.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right, Troy, I appreciate your time, man.
Thank you, sir.
Look forward to talking more, but if you guys have any questions, we'll put the contact information in the comments, and thanks for watching, guys. Aloha.